everybody to Property Mythbusters. My name is Gilmovich. I'm from Real Property Manager.
I'm Debra Beck-Mewing from the Property Frontline.
And I'm Ken Hugh from Avvora Finance.
So we're back here again to bust some myths around the contradictions and some of the misleading information that's out in the marketplace in the property investing world. And we've got a special edition today.
We do. So for the next, or probably 15 minutes, we will be covering the topic of the week. And we're going to take the perspective or cover the myth that COVID-19 will put downward pressure on property prices. So who would like to start?
Yeah, well, you know, as practitioners in the property investing space, we're on the ground, we're out and about in the marketplaces, and we're inspecting those properties. So we can give you, as always, an on-the-ground perspective of things rather than a lot of the media hype which is going on in the marketplace. Now, Deborah, as a property sourcer yourself, working around the major markets on the East Coast, what are you seeing at the moment?
Well, let's just take a look at what was happening at the opens last weekend and what I'm seeing from the desk from buyer demand. So buyer demand is still incredibly strong. The market sentiment or buyer sentiment last weekend to the virus was, does that mean that I might get a few discounts? And first time buyers were almost rejoicing, thinking that they might actually have a bit more of an edge because they've got so much better access to funds at the moment. Yeah, so buyer sentiment's still strong. I did get the feeling that vendors are a little bit more friendly instead of going, no, you're going to have to, if you want to put in a bid prior to auction, it better be a good one. Now it's like, okay, let's talk. So what I'm expecting is that some vendors who've got really good property will go, I'll take a little step back. But people who have to sell will stay on the market. But it will mean that, because before all this started, we didn't have enough good quality stock. So people were fighting for that, and that was driving prices up.
So here's a marketplace at the moment. This is the challenge in the marketplace, which has evolved over the years, is that we have both investors and owner occupiers, and of course you have the third arm, which is opportunists, all competing for the same asset.
Yeah, that's right.
So what is the sentiment that you're seeing out there between, let's say, the investors versus the owner occupiers right now, given what's happening?
Well, I think investors you'd have to put into two camps now. So I did have some investors who are more speculative, who like turn over the properties. They're like, let's just wait and see what happens. We haven't got enough information to make a decision, so let's just have a coffee for a couple of weeks and see what happens. But the people who know that they won't be impacted financially are like, right, let's get in there and see what kind of discounts we can get. Okay,
so they are looking potentially for some price reductions,
yes,
and possibly putting some pressure on that. Have you seen any properties actually withdrawn from the marketplace during campaigns?
No, I haven't seen that. And it's probably the type of property that I'm looking for. And what I've noticed this week is the property that has the qualities that I'm looking for. I've seen more of that come onto the market, but still at really high prices.
Okay, so there's at this stage of the year, and it's nearly the end of March.
Yeah.
We're generally in what is seen as the peak time of the marketplace. That's spring summer quarter, and activity is red hot.
It's wet, and it's
going through the end. Yeah, coming through now. The year's flown.
I know. But before we go off, I really, before you two can start talking, what I really want to make a point about is that a lot of people will hear, the market's like slowing down, but we've got to remember we've always had a two-speed market, and the gap is now widening. So there's like the off-the-plan and new stock or poorly built stock in huge big developments. People don't want that, and while they were sort of starting to soften again to that prior to the last week or two, now they're like, oh no, really pulling against that. But the good quality property that has opportunity, that is well located, not surrounded by acres and acres of
generic product
or just green space.
Green space.
That type of stock is still very competitive, and I expect it to stay that way because we've got so much. Like, it's easier to access funds, and the government's going to make that even easier. So the fundamentals are still there, but it's for a particular type. So the bad stock will probably look like the numbers are going down, but you've got it's a very nuanced kind of
Okay,
market.
so on a balance, at this stage, we're not seeing any downward pressure on property prices that are either investment grade or potentially owner-occupier.
Unless you want to buy out, like Oran Park, that kind of way, I think there'll be some bargains.
20k out of suburbs, basically.
40.
Up to 40, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Ken, from finance and lending perspective, what are you seeing? What are is there any changes? Is there any changes of policy? What's the general inquiry?
Yeah,
at the moment?
It's still primarily owner-occupiers, not so much in the way of investors and things like that. As Debra touched on, I think a lot of the fundamentals are still there in terms of getting access to credit and home loans. There was a recent change in the banking policy or guidelines, so there's been a couple of things that trickled through. Nothing noteworthy that will drastically impact, like little things like, let's just say, a guarantor can't sign in the presence of an applicant, those tiny things. There have been some small tweaks as well. In terms of owner-occupiers, there's still a lot of inquiries coming through for home loans. I did have one client who decided not to go ahead because they weren't going to go to open homes amidst COVID-19 and
Get the germs.
Yeah, exactly. So look, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but primarily most people are still going ahead, even just out in open homes and stuff like that. I don't know if it's because there's an increase in the number of properties that have been put up in the Auburn area that I go to the open homes. There certainly has been a lot more stock come on board, and there's, the numbers in terms of the number of people going to open homes is less, but that just could be because it's been dispersed across the different open homes. But yeah, they're still kind of primarily
so what you say, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
Business as usual. Sounds like the investors are getting a little bit shaky.
Yeah, I haven't really seen them ever come on board ever since they were quite strong on the interest only, the restrictions, the caps and stuff like that. They've always fallen off. I haven't really seen their thing pick up since. I don't know if it's to do with rental yields and return on investment, stuff like that. But yeah, that's just how it's kind of.
But there is a change that everyone should know about, isn't there, in relation to the interest rate?
What, a recent reduction in the interest rate? Yeah, that was an interesting change. So 25 basis point reduction. From what I can tell, all lenders have kind of passed that across the board. The major lenders have passed that on as well. Smaller lenders will probably took another week or so to kind of make their decision. A lot of the changes will be flowing on now, or the rates will be effective now. And it's probably a good time to just kind of review where your financial position is. If you haven't reviewed your loan for like the last 2-3 years, it's good to just kind of check to see where you're at, check your financial position, your income, expenses, see if there's anything that you want to do in terms of taking equity out, saving on interest costs, making that feasibility decision whether you should stay or move or whatever that might be. There's a couple of scenarios there where some people are looking at changing, paying a break fee and moving away from their current lender to do stuff as well. But yeah, so there's always an opportunity now. while everyone's trying to kind of get their head around what's going to happen, you know, all this planning can happen in the back end. And then, you know, if things turn for the better, or there's, you know, things just stay the same, status quo, you can kind of make a move while everyone's caught napping.
Yeah. And so from your perspective, John, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so some interesting things happening in the rental space. Generally on the ground, what I've been seeing up until sort of, you know, we're at that major announcement that, you know, Australia is now in an epidemic, is open homes are getting well attended for rentals, but there's a vast difference between the type of property.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing very good numbers coming through the open homes and demand for your standalone homes in the backyard, because I think from a price point of view of purchasing one in the inner suburbs, especially in Sydney, some just can't do it. They've been locked out of the market, so they have no choice but to rent a house, or they're moving out from their apartments into a rental property and renting out their property, their apartment as well. Lots of that happening. So good quality homes, 3 to 4 bedroom, are in demand, and I'm not seeing much resistance on or downward pressure on prices there. But for the apartments, completely different story.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah.
Very similar to the purchasing market. Not very well attended open homes. Yes, offers being made on apartment rents because it is a stock that's widely available. Okay, so you've got, you know, we've had 10 years of building and construction. Yeah. Your classic 2-bedroom, 1 or 2 bathroom and car space in abundance at the moment. So far and wide choice, investors competing to grab a tenant. And yes, there is a downward pressure on the rents.
Is there a spillover effect from like all the Opal Tower, that type of stuff? Do you reckon that's also affecting it, or not really? Or?
Not directly, as a result of you know, issues around defects and quality. Yeah. It's just here's a housing stock that's in abundance. And we know that the migration numbers are down at the moment, so there's not as much migration coming through, taking up this surplus stock, and especially on the apartment market. The other interesting thing that's happening, which is directly correlated to COVID-19, is that existing tenants coming up for lease expiry are starting to negotiate rents. They're also asking for rent reductions or rent relief rebates because of pressures from income. So we've had instances where warnings have been given of potential redundancies, or they're being asked to actually take unpaid leave as well. And so that's triggered inquiries coming in from tenants asking, could the landlord do me a favour at the moment temporarily by reducing my rent? Yeah. Now that's a tough question, and let's cover that at another time because we are running out of time. But we're seeing that starting to come through, that kind of financial hardship from tenants asking for temporary reductions on rents. Yeah,
but didn't we, like I thought the vacancy rates generally, and of course they're at a market, like the data is at such a high level you don't get the detail, but generally Sydney, the vacancy rates were going down, weren't they?
They were falling, yeah. So, SQM Research, even CoreLogic put out some data for the last quarter on rents, and it was certainly going in the right direction with falling vacancy rates. So,
see, this is what I'm worried about, is that we were still like in an undersupply situation, and so now the developers will be in hardship country, and it's not going to take long before we're you know, we've got people crying in the streets going, oh, it's too expensive. So.
Yeah, so that's generally what's happening around the marketplace right now. I mean, at the end of the day, if we wrap this session up, housing, vital, essential,
It's
commodity.
Needed. Shelter. Yeah.
It's needed. The market continues to tick on as demand is there. There's going to be bumps, definitely going to be bumps here and there. But at this stage, it's business as usual, with some challenges that are going to definitely come up. But prices are generally holding.
For a particular type of stock.
Yeah.
But the opportunity at the moment is for first-time buyers. I think if they won't get another golden opportunity like this, and it's not going to last long. We've all got our theories about how long this will last, but I think if it lasts 4 weeks, we'll be lucky. But I can't see it, lasting much longer than that. Though we do have to prepare for 6 months, and of course we have to make sure we're responsible with the way we
Interact socially.
interact socially. Cause
Yes, absolutely, and just number one priority should be your health.
That's right.
Because without that, you have nothing. So
that's right.
I think that's an important message as well. But yes, I'm starting to see those that have been through markets like this, the challenging markets, financial crisis markets, world epidemics, they see this as an opportunity. So it's all, I guess, attitudinal, 80% attitudinal and 20% technical.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I guess we need to wrap up.
Yeah, wrap up. So thanks for watching. We love your feedback. Please join the Facebook group, and if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with us directly through our social channels. But thanks for joining us for this particular episode.
Okay.
And we'll see you again.
See you again.
Bye.